When I moved into my new apartment, the first thing I noticed was the silence, not peaceful silence. The kind that feels like someone just stopped talking the moment you walked into the room. The building stood on a quiet street in Boston, an older brick complex that looked ordinary from the outside. For floors, narrow hallways, aging carpet, and thin walls. The kind of place where you hear your neighbors coughing at night. But apartment 402, the unit directly across from mine, was different. I never heard anything from it. No footsteps, no television, no voices. Which was strange, because according to the mailbox downstairs, someone lived there. A name printed on the metal label, Michael Bennett. I didn't think much about it at first, until the third day. I came home from work around 6:30 p.m., unlocked my door, and stepped into the hallway. That's when I noticed something odd. The door to apartment 402 was slightly open. Just a few inches. Inside, the lights were on. And someone was moving around. I paused for a moment, considering whether to introduce myself. New neighbors usually exchanged polite greetings. But before I could knock, the door slowly closed. Not slammed, just gently pulled shut. As if whoever was inside knew I was there. I shrugged it off and went into my apartment. Later that night, around midnight, I heard something through the wall. A television. Low volume, muffled voices. That wasn't unusual. Except the show playing sounded familiar, very familiar. Because it was the exact same show I had been watching earlier that evening. Same episode, same dialogue. At first I assumed it was coincidence. But then something strange happened. The TV in the other apartment paused. Exactly at the same moment I paused mine. The next day I paid closer attention. When I left for work at 8:15 a.m., the door across the hall opened. A man stepped out. I only saw him briefly as he locked the door. But something about him made me stop. He looked like me. Not identical, but similar enough to feel uncomfortable. Same height, same build, same dark jacket I was wearing. He glanced up. For a moment our eyes met. Then he turned and walked toward the stairwell without saying a word. That evening, I tested something. I turned on the TV and started watching a random movie. 20 minutes later, I muted the volume. The wall went silent. I unmuted it. The sound returned next door. My heart began beating faster. I paused the movie. Next door, the television paused too. I decided to confront him. The next morning, I knocked on apartment 402. No answer. I knocked again. Still nothing. Just as I was about to leave, the door opened. Michael Bennett stood there. Up close, the resemblance was even more unsettling. We didn't look like twins, but we looked like brothers. Or maybe alternate versions of the same person. Yes, he asked calmly. Hi, I said. I live across the hall. I know. His voice was neutral. I just wanted to ask something. Go ahead. Why does your TV always match mine? His expression didn't change. It doesn't. Yes, it does. He shrugged. Coincidences happen. Then he closed the door. That night, the television didn't turn on next door. Neither did the lights. The apartment stayed dark. But around 2 a.m., I woke to the sound of movement in the hallway. Footsteps, soft, slow, curious. I looked through the peephole. Michael Bennett was standing outside my door. Not knocking, just standing there, watching it. After a few seconds, he turned and walked back into his apartment. The next day, things became stranger. At work, my coworker Sarah asked me a question. Did you enjoy the Italian place last night? What Italian place? The one you posted on social media. I frowned. I didn't go to any restaurant. She showed me her phone. A photo on my profile, me sitting in a restaurant, eating pasta. Posted at 8:14 p.m. I stared at the screen. I had been home watching TV at that time. But the picture looked real, completely real. That night, I checked my social media account. The post was there, dozens of likes. comments from friends, all responding to the dinner photo. Except I had never taken it, never posted it, never even left my apartment. The next morning, I opened my banking app. Another surprise waited for me, a charge from the same Italian restaurant. Time, 8:21 p.m. Amount, $34.60. I felt a chill run through my body. Someone had used my card. Except the receipt attached to the charge included a photo from the restaurant camera. The customer paying at the register was me. I ran across the hall and pounded on Michael Bennett's door. It opened slowly. "You used my identity," I said. He looked confused. "I don't know what you're talking about. The restaurant. The photos. The charges." He sighed softly. "Come inside." His apartment looked almost identical to mine. Same layout, same furniture, same TV, except everything was positioned slightly differently, as if someone had copied my apartment from memory. "Sit down," he said. I remained standing. "What's going on?" Michael leaned against the kitchen counter. "Tell me something," he said calmly. "Where were you last night at 8:14 p.m.? At home. Doing what? Watching TV. Which show?" I hesitated. "How do you know that?" He smiled faintly. "Because that's what I was doing too." He walked to a small desk and opened a laptop. Then he turned the screen toward me. A security video appeared, recorded inside the Italian restaurant. Time stamp, 8:14 p.m. The camera showed someone entering the building. It was me. Except it wasn't. It was Michael Bennett. Wearing my clothes, walking like me, smiling like me. "You're copying my life," I whispered. He shook his head. "No, then what?" "I'm replacing it." My heart pounded. "Why?" He studied my face for a long moment. "Because someone has to. That doesn't make sense." "It will." "When?" "Soon." He closed the laptop. "You see," he continued quietly, "your life has complications." "What complications?" "Decisions you're about to make." "What decisions?" "The kind that ruin everything." I stared at him. "So you're pretending to be me?" "Yes." "Why?" His answer was calm. "To make better choices." Over the next week, things got worse. My friends began mentioning events I never attended. My coworkers referenced meetings I never joined. Even my boss complimented a report I had never written. But every time I investigated, the records showed my name, my signature, my face. Michael Bennett was slowly taking over my life. One action at a time, one decision at a time. And no one noticed the difference. Except me. Finally, I confronted him again. "You're stealing everything." He shook his head. "I'm fixing it." "You're destroying my life." "No," he said quietly. "I'm saving it." "From what?" He walked toward the window and looked out at the street. "From the mistake you're going to make tomorrow." My stomach tightened. "What mistake?" Michael turned back toward me. His voice dropped to a whisper, the one that ends someone else's life.